Ever since I was a kid, even up until adulthood, I've been saying the same thing. I could do that myself, how hard could it be? So, in this spirit, I decided to start recording my first solo album in January 2015. I'd recorded other things in the past, demos, EPs, things like that, but this was the first big project where I was creating a full-length album where I was not only writing and performing all the music, but I was recording it, producing it, and releasing it myself. Instead of going to a professional studio spending a lot of money, of course, I decided to do everything myself in my own house, using what some might consider a pretty modest setup. I have my main interface is a Focusrite Scarlett USB interface, and I recorded that right into my PC and mixed it using Steinberg Cubase 7. What follows is some videos that I took of my progress along the way, which will give a little insight into the creative process.
The Edge of the Radius. It's really just a title that came to me randomly. It didn't really mean anything, it just kind of sounded cool. But I guess looking back on it, I guess the connotation could be something like on the outskirts of town, kind of a place away from the rest of society where strange characters live and strange things happen. Seems fitting for this little collection of songs here. It is Tuesday, January 20th, 2015, and I'm going to play the drums. The snare I've got here is an acrylite. I purchased separately from the rest of the kit. The kit actually came with a Superphonic snare, which was really kind of beat up, and I didn't know what it was. So I actually sold it to Ricky for like $50. I was like, I already got a snare. I don't need that one, and kind of regretted that a little bit. But you know what? I really like this acrylite. It's got a nice crisp sound. I've got it tuned pretty high actually. So I've heard some snares that are maybe tuned a little lower and a little more, I don't know, fat, I suppose, but I like the nice crispness here. It's almost like a marching snare. Kind of cuts through on the guitars a little bit when it gets real heavy and things like that. The toms, actually, this does not have the bottom head, nor does the bass drum, and I didn't do that. The kit came like that when I got it off eBay many years ago, and I just never got around to getting more hardware for it to put the heads on, but it sounds pretty good. I think this is a 9-inch tom here. I've got some larger ones that you can see back here, some red ones that weren't original. I guess somebody, whoever owned the kit previously had bought them and made a giant kit out of it, I suppose. But I've got that one, which I used the smaller one because I guess I thought it would sound more punchy and kind of cut through things in the way that the snare does. And I've also got the 16-inch floor tom there, 22-inch bass drum with my Tama Speed Cobra pedal. Pretty nice. A lot better than the crappy little pedal I had before that had a felt beater. It sounded like hitting cardboard. But see, I got the double pedal there, but I don't have the other one set up. I'm not using it for this record. I've just been kind of playing around with it for fun. My hi-hats, I got the 15-inch Peisty 505s. I actually, oddly enough, I got these when I was living in Connecticut with my parents. Around the same time I got this kit, neighbors just happened to have this set of cymbals lying around in the garage or something. It was like, oh, do you want them? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take them. Sounds pretty good. They're not like the giant beats that John Bonham used, but similar alloy. I got the hat trick up there. Ricky started using that, and I really like the sound of it when you kind of step down on the pedal. So I really enjoyed that sound, so I kind of incorporated it into my own setup there. I got a couple cowbells there. just for fun. Different sounds. One's a little higher pitched than the other one, but you know, every now and again you need something a little different. And my cymbal setup is really simple. I've got 2 Meinl cymbals. I think they're both 20 inches. Byzance, Brilliant Crash up there, and a what do they call this? A Raw Bell Ride. I kind of like it because there's no finish on it. It's just hammered and sounds got a good dry sound to it. You know. I really didn't go overboard with miking up this kit either. I'm really going for a natural sound here because they're really lively sounding drums. That's one of the reasons that I got the Vistalites. Also, really because John Bonham played them, early influence of mine, and I just really like the way they sound. They don't quite sound the same as wood, but they've got their own character that I really like. It's unique. So, to get most of the sound of the kit, I've got these 2 overhead mics here. They're Octava, perhaps, Russian, small diaphragm condenser microphones. I've got them taped up there actually because the little, what do you call them, the clips I use are really loose and they keep falling out of place. You know, I get most of the sound from these mics, and I also have the AKG 414 over there, positioned a little ways away from the kit. This is mostly for the room sound, which, you know, I'm in a basement and there's a bunch of crap everywhere and I'm over by a wall. That's probably not a good thing, but I don't know, it adds a nice little character to it, so I'm getting the sound from above and in front. I've also got the mics, got the toms and the snare close mic. I got a SM57 top and bottom on the snare drum there. MD421s, Sennheisers on the toms, you know, pretty standard stuff. The Beta 52 and the kick all the way in there. You know, it's simple stuff, you know, nothing out of the ordinary there. Now, one of the most important things I learned from recording my own music over the years is make sure that you get the mic placement right before you start hitting record. You know, many times I've, you know, just kind of thrown up microphones where I thought they looked good and, you know, figured, oh, well, you know, as long as I get the sound down, you know, to tape or on the computer or whatever, I'll just fix it later. Well, you know what? You can't fix it later. It's going to sound like crap. That's how you end up getting drums that sound like you're hitting cardboard boxes, like I have a number of times. So I was real careful to try to get everything positioned right, tested it out beforehand, and once I hit the record button, all I really have to worry about is getting good performance, and hopefully when I mix everything later, I won't have to do too much, maybe just a little EQ, compression, stuff like that. So that's very, very important for the home studio person like myself, or perhaps you who are watching this, I don't know. Doing Endless Youth today. Appropriate given my Nintendo beanie that I'm wearing today. I'm using the rods on this song because it's a little more mellow and give it a little bit of a different sound. It's the 22nd of January, and I just finished tracking all the drums for the Edge of the Radius. It took me 3 days. Okay, I took 1 day off. I started on the 20th. And it was a lot of hard work. It was kind of tough. Some songs were easier to record than others. Some of them are kind of based on do a little copy and pasting, some loops here and there. But it's me playing on every track. And some people have asked me, or maybe wondering, Chris, why don't you just use a drum machine, program some drums with, Easy Drummer or something like that? Well, it seems like that in popular music nowadays, pop, hip hop, whatever, there are a lot of programmed drums. It's, that's fine for what it is, but my type of rock and roll, the stuff that I'm playing, I just prefer the natural sound of a human being playing the drums. You know, every time you hit the drum, it's not going to be exactly the same as the time before, like it would be with a sample that's just repeating. You know, I don't know if drum machines are smart enough to do something a little different, but even still, there's I guess there's an unpredictability and some imperfection there, or in my case, a lot of imperfection because I'm kind of a sloppy drummer. But you know, I played to a metronome to get kind of some sort of consistency that people are used to hearing from, you know, listening to these songs on the radio. So, and plus, you know, I have this drum kit. I spent a lot of money on it, and I know how to play it. So, you know, might as well play it. You know, it was tough to get everything mic'd up and sounding good, and it was tough to play the songs since I don't really practice every day. But it's ultimately pretty rewarding. Next up, we'll do some bass, maybe acoustic guitar and some keyboards. Save the electric guitar and vocals for later, but step one, phase one is done. Okay, so the next step in my process is bass guitar. My weapons of choice here are primarily this Fender Jazz bass, and I also have an Ibanez Iceman bass reissue from 2003, something like that, I think. I'm definitely not a bass player. You know, I know enough about the guitar that, you know, I can play this thing. It's a string fretted instrument, but you know, I don't have a big stack of you know, bass amp and cabinet and things like that. So what I'm doing this time is I'm recording directly into my box, a little direct injection, I guess they call it. And I'm using a piece of software called Amplitude 3, kind of an amp simulator, something like that. It was $100 and works pretty well for me. Sounds good, and you know, I'll use this jazz bass on a lot of songs. It's got a nice, it's got the single coil pickups there, and it's got a nice kind of top end, kind of bright to it if I need to cut through guitars and hear something going on. I use the Iceman bass. You know, it's got the mini humbucker pickups in there, so it's got a little more of a growl, I guess, to it, a little more mid-rangey. Use that on a song like Tree Man, whereas, you know, things are a little heavier. I want to keep it down in the bottom end. I wouldn't say that I have one particular style of playing the bass. Really, it just depends on the song, whatever suits it. Sometimes I might play something basic, you know, the root notes of the chords, like a song like Tree Man or Cactus Strut. Might play something a little more melodic, like you hear in that little bass solo towards the end of That's Not Gonna Work For Me. Sometimes I use the bass to kind of fill in the spaces a little bit, kind of poke out. Don't really know how to describe it other than that. And you know, like a song like in Endless Youth. Twisting in the wind. Oops. Missed my cue. How'd that sound? For this particular record, my amplifier of choice is a Vox AC15. Got that just recently. Before that, I've been using a PV head, 100 watt, and 4x12 cabinet that my dad and I built actually. And that sounded pretty good, but I want to try something a little different for this record. Got the, I think, EL34 tubes in there, maybe. Kind of a little bit more of a vintage sound as opposed to the PV, which is a little more modern and American, I guess. I'm really happy with the results I've been getting. I got my AKG 414 mic'd up here. It's only got one speaker, so that kind of makes it a little bit easier. I got it in a good position, and really there's no secret to my tone here. I just turn everything up all the way. I use the top boost channel, and it sounds pretty awesome. You know, for the home studio, I really think that a little combo amplifier like this is the way to go. I don't know, I guess it just it doesn't have to be quite as loud, so you're not going to be disturbing your neighbors or anything like that. My neighbors next door are 200 years old, and they probably can't hear it anyway, but you know. My original plan was to play through two amplifiers and kind of blend them together, you know, using the box and this monster right here. But in the end, I think I decided that less is better. Because, you know, you try to blend too many things together, you're just making more tracks and more problems when it comes to mixing. And, I don't know. I really like the sound of just the box up there. You know, it's anybody who thinks that you need one of these things, 100 watt head and a 4x12 cabinet here, to get a good sound. I don't know. Just try a little combo amplifier, turn it up all the way, and you might be surprised with what you get. I was. Big Blue Chevrolet. I'm recording it with the blue guitar. Didn't really plan that, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, this guitar here, it's a, I guess kind of an entry-level budget Parker guitar that they stopped making in the early 2000s, I guess. And this is a 2001. But I've got this the Marzio Super Distortion pickup I had installed there. Give it a little bit different sound. It's got an older body, so kind of use this for maybe a more classic vintage tone that I wouldn't get out of the other Parker guitars that are pretty unique and modern sounding. I'm using this guitar on this song and also on Have You Seen Me, because I can get the single coil and I can also get the humbucker sound that I was going for with that particular number. I got it. All right. That's better. Yeah. Try this again. Cowabunga. Pedal.
Tuesday, May 20th, 2015, and I believe that I'm finally done recording electric guitar parts. I'm kind of taking my time here and there. Real life and job and what have you has kind of gotten in the way sometimes. Hasn't given me as much free time as I wanted, but wow, it's a good feeling. Move on to other things now. I'm using a small diaphragm condenser microphone right here, my Octava. Same ones I use for the drum overheads. I'm using that to record the acoustic guitar for Where Do We Go From Here. I'm not using the large diaphragm because this one I kind of want to EQ it a bit to make it sit more in the mix. It's not going to be like a solo acoustic guitar, and these microphones are good for picking up the high end, which is kind of what I want to hear in this particular number. Got this mandolin here. A little rusty. Right, so for vocals, I got my AKG 414 here. Use that on drums and guitar too. It's a great microphone. And got my pop filter here, very important. Got it at a good level here so I can kind of stand up straight, get kind of close to it. Just belt out some notes and add a little compressor and a little reverb. Kind of smooth things out and widen it a little bit. You get some great results there.
Wear my skin too tight. Have you seen me tonight? Patchwork, clockwork queens, lost loves and latex dreams. I'm coming apart at the seams.
In the process of making this album, I've learned something interesting, and that is that writing, performing, recording, producing, mixing, mastering, distributing your own full-length album is a little challenging.
Can't help myself, okay, keep my eyes